Thanks, Salim. So just to wrap this first presentation, so the interface more or less is going to look something like this. It's going to allow users to choose between regional scale simulation or simulation at specific location with different realization. And then you will have, as I said, similar to the PEER recorded ground motion, and Salim detailed that in much more with a lot of information, where in the simulated ground motion, the fault rupture and simulation parameters, which are unique for each realization, will also be documented in flat file analogous to what we do in the NGA. So in that case, we are responding positively to the feedback we received. So in conclusion, the simulated ground motion database is currently under development with a preliminary version already, only not shared yet because it's still work in progress. The interface is hopefully will be available for people to give us feedback by the middle of this year. So for seamless integration of the simulated ground motion database into the current research and practice, the developed interface is going to look similar to what PEER recorded ground motion database look like. The specifics and the use cases will also be part of this interface, or at least that's what's in the plan at the moment. So to talk a little bit about the schedule and the data rollout and the beta users, so I'll go over how we are going to engage the earthquake engineering community, how we're going to transition this effort to practice, who are the beta users, and what is the schedule of the data rollout. So as I mentioned in my opening remarks, PEER is more than just UC Berkeley. We have 20 campuses, several researchers, several participants in our committee from the engineering community. So we will do our best to facilitate broader use of this simulated ground motion. The simulated ground motion database is indeed timely to engage the earthquake engineering community, leveraging the DOE resources. This simulated ground motion are expected to facilitate regional scale simulations that we heard several presentation about. In terms of the engineering community feedback, so the database interface is planned to have continuous feedback button where people come to the site and give us their opinion, whether they want to see changes in future releases. The earthquake engineering community input will be considered in whatever development we will do in the future. We don't expect the first version to be stagnant. We expect there will be things that people want to see differently, and that will be the mechanism by which we are going to hear these opinions. We plan to hold this event, like what we had in the past 2 days, as a simulated ground motion database forum. Possibly in sometime in April. We usually have our PEER annual meeting in January. We have a research forum in August. So maybe halfway in between, so then we don't have too many meetings back to back. But again, the same way we solicited the input of the community, probably we should do something similar so we can have more participants by choosing time that work with with as big of a pool as we can. What I really want to see is a fixed time for it. Then people have it in their calendar. They know we have this simulated ground motion forum of that particular time of the year. Then we have the largest participants. In terms of potential beta users, the first thing we are planning to do is our peer research community. We have a culture of request for proposals that we issue twice or 3 times per year. So we are planning to include some topics, possibly also we solicit the input from the researchers on what topics to include in our upcoming request for proposal. PEER as a center has steady source of funding, so we can channel them in directions that of interest to that type of studies, more acceptance criteria type of research, more comparison, and so on. Other users are our friends in the Sim Center. I see Frank there. So they're developing all these nice tools. So we will try also to promote that and talk to them once we have the data set available, so they can also use their own tools for that. And of course, the energy providers, we heard from PG&E, from Southern California Edison. We expect those to be also beta users. Government agencies related to infrastructure networks. We heard from Kenichi Soga about his contacts in the water, gas, and we have a lot of strong relationship with Caltrans, so we expect also some beta users from these government agencies. And of course, we have our business and industry partnership program, which includes several design offices who they use nonlinear time history analysis on a regular basis. If there is opportunity for them to use simulated ground motion, we will encourage that. And of course, worldwide users from Italy and Turkey and other parts of the world. In terms of transition to practice, I don't see a problem with that because already the plugins for this are there in these documents. You look at ASCE 7 and you see a statement like where the required number of recorded ground motion is not available, it shall be permitted to supplement the available records with simulated ground motion. That's already there. It's just a matter of making this easy for people to do it. And hopefully what we are doing will facilitate that. In terms of the advantages of simulated ground motion database in practice, there will be many advantages. It will give you availability of subsurface motion. Most of the recordings we have are surface recordings. With the exception of a few geotech arrays, which are hard to maintain, we will have that capability. Suitable for scenario-based regional scale simulation. The recorded motions not available for near fault, not available for large magnitude. We already have seen that. Actually, I promise you, I'm not going to see this figure anymore. Actually, you'll see it again. That's the last time. So finally, things like having realistic ground motion input to long span structures. Within PEER, we have this center that's called the BRACE-2, Bridge Rapid Assessment Center for Extreme Events, where we deal with monitored instrumented bridges. And we're creating the digital twin for these bridges. And sometimes we struggle if we want to consider multi-support excitation for these long-span structures. Then either we do something very artificial using recorded motion, or we can do something more founded in more theory and more scientific using simulated ground motion. Let me do this quickly because we only have 3 more minutes.
Yeah, I think we should do the final wrap-up now.
Yeah.
Right?
So
you've done a lot of it already. So.
Yeah, so there is a lot of applications, potential uses, whether they are on the structure, where you can do probabilistic performance-based design optimization, floor motions, different comparisons one can hold, or comparison with instrumented buildings. So you can do a lot on the structure front, you can do a lot on the geotechnical front, whether it's free field versus motion at the base of structures. We have the two options in EQSIM, bedrock motion, things related to geotechnical arrays or simulated motions. So there are many things that we can include in our research activities, whether it's by soliciting proposals in these domains or assigning it to some interested groups who want to work on these areas. Finally, in terms of regional simulation, coupled simulated motion with fragilities and consequence functions, identification of weakest links in a system. You can do that in a more rigorous way using simulated ground motion. And finally, everybody now is doing machine learning, deep learning, but machine learning models using results that could be trained with many of these simulations will be possible now. So in terms of regional performance-based earthquake engineering simulation using simulated ground motion, with these advances in computational technologies and availability of efficient methods to extract information, application of performance-based earthquake engineering for regional scale simulation becomes possible, because now we have this consistent hazard representation. Simulated ground motion will be essential for accurate regional quantification of shaking in the hazard analysis, so we can develop ground motion for structure analysis that give us better cities in the future. And finally, the regions with high seismicity in the United States or in other parts of the world can also be considered in a more rigorous way when we want to conduct these regional scale simulations. In terms of schedule, that's our plan. Hopefully, we will have this available by September of this year. The main tasks are to complete the server configuration in terms of the setup and testing it, complete the user interface, include all the data and metadata for the San Francisco Bay Area simulations. Currently, we have only a limited set of the data that we are playing with, but being able to include all the data, will be an important task. And then the beta version rollout, where hopefully these beta users and the use cases that you heard about throughout these 2 days will be made use of. And then getting feedback from the beta users. And finally, the full version rollout, which should happen sometime in August and September. So to conclude, the PEER to host and maintain the database hopefully will add a value to the broader use and impact of this simulated ground motion, which are expected to facilitate the regional scale evaluation and for energy and the other infrastructure networks. Of course, we focusing on energy network because of the DOE support, but that will also help other infrastructure networks. The motions in the database have many potential uses in structure, geotechnical, regional scale applications, including transition to practice. The feedback from the potential users is essential to develop this the correct way. So we have to accommodate the input of as many beta users as we can. There are current and the future physics-based ground motion simulation worldwide. Eventually, we would like to be able to share this data, whether in a direct way or indirect way, such that people have one-stop shop, and it's not only shouldn't only be a California effort. If there is something we can learn from our colleagues worldwide, we are open for that. Finally, the database development and the full version rollout will be regularly communicated to the peer community through our website, social media, the news digest that I mentioned in my opening remarks, and finally this annual simulated ground motion database PEER-LBNL DOE forum that we are hopeful it will be an annual event where we can, learn about the latest, see what future updates need to be made to the earlier version of this database. With that, I will stop and pass it back to you, Amarnath.
Thank you, Khalid.